This is a brief introduction to how to draw flowcharts. Flowcharting. Flowcharting is a way to graphically represent a process that you want to communicate. It's a way to model a process that is without computer language and can be used in all kinds of different environments. It uses a few simple symbols to show the process. It's been used in engineering, accounting, and technology for over 100 years. But the flavor of flowcharting that I'll be showing you in today's video is a flavor defined by IBM, International Business Machines, and their computer programming back from the late 1960s. There's a reference to the original document at the end of this slide, but it's a very interesting way to draw flowcharts. The first shape used in flowcharting is the rectangle. It represents a process. A process should have and may have several arrows flowing into it or flows of process, and only one arrow may leave a process. Be very careful when you're defining your processes, only one arrow may leave. Also, put a brief description of the process in the box. The next shape I want to show you is the oval, and the oval are known as terminators. A chart must have one and only one oval that's marked as start or begin, and usually will have one oval marked as stop or end. It may have multiple stops to avoid some confusion or to avoid especially long lines in your flowchart, but your chart must have one and only one start. The start terminator will have one arrow exiting it, and the stop or end terminator will have one arrow entering it, or multiple arrows entering it. The third shape I want to introduce is the decision. The decision shape is the diamond, and basically it's a place to ask yes no questions. You enter the diamond or the decision with one flow in, and then there are two or more flows out, each marked with a value. For instance, in the example shown, there's one flow in and a flow out for yes and a flow out for no. The fourth and important part of a flowchart are the actual flows. We know the three basic shapes, the process, the terminator, and the decision. And the last thing we need to know are the arrows and the way the arrows or flows work. Flows connect one symbol to another. Sometimes flows are drawn without arrowheads, and if an arrowhead is missing, we can assume that the flow goes down or to the right. Um, Always, uh, but I always suggest we include arrowheads for clarity, just because there's no potential for not knowing which way the flow goes. If flows cross, they pass over each other as if they weren't even there. So crossing flows can be ignored, but if flows come to a T, the arrowheads rule or the down right rule applies to T's, and you can see some examples of arrows and arrowheads and flows down on the bottom of this slide. So let's look at an example flowchart. This is a really simple chart that shows the process of maybe driving home from work or driving home from school in the evening. We start, we then start the car, we drive. Are we there yet? No. Well, then drive some more. Are we there yet? No. Drive some more. Are we there yet? I could do that all evening. But are we there yet? Yeah. Park the car. We're done. So you can see that this very simple flow chart describes the whole process of driving somewhere. It shows all three basic symbols, and it shows a technique that we use in computer programming known as iteration, where we go around and around and around in a circle trying to solve something or do something. As you can see, we keep driving, and regularly we check are we there yet, and then we drive some more. The second flowcharting example is an example taken from a department store, from a business where we're running a sale. Everything's on sale today. And you can see that we start and we're trying to price an item that we have in our hands right now. How do we do it? Well, if the price ends in 0.98 or 98 cents, it's already on sale. You can see how we go to the decision. It's already on sale, then we drop down to the end. If it's clothing and the price does not end in 98 cents, then we take 40% off. But if it's a household good or anything else that we happen to sell, only take 25% off. So this picture describes the whole process of calculating the discount price on a sale day. Sometimes you can see that a picture to describe this in English and to write it out, it would be a little bit complex, but this picture very clearly states and describes what's happening. So you've seen a couple of sample flowcharts and you understand the three basic flowchart shapes and flows. How do you draw a flowchart? Well, the most important thing to do is to define the problem. What is the task that we're to be charting? Ask yourself a question like how to do this, or we need to do this. Start with a single start and work your way down to the end or the ends, but usually there's only one end. Document each step and decision you make as if you were going through it yourself. But pay attention to the complexity of the chart. If you notice, the sample charts that I gave weren't very complex at all, but the process of driving home could be an extremely complex process. Remember who you're drawing the chart for. You've got to make sure that it fits the needs of the users of the chart. What are you trying to communicate? Don't overcomplicate it, but be sure that it includes enough process that it explains what you're trying to say. It's a tool of communication, this model. Be sure you communicate what needs to be said. In some examples, sometimes a single process on your flowchart may be broken down into multiple processes by another flowchart, a detailed flowchart, and that's perfectly okay. Just some tips when you're thinking about flowcharting. Put yourself in the reader's position. Okay? Ask yourself, what is the reader going to do and how is this going to be used? Make sure that the main flow through the diagram, make sure that the main process or the main flows through the diagram aren't going all over the page where that's really difficult to read. Don't put everything in there. Don't include every single little thing as a process. Keep the descriptions short. Make sure there's enough white space and space in the diagram that it's not difficult to read or really crowded. And test every flow. Make sure when you draw the flowchart, you take your finger and go through every single flow of the flowchart and make sure that they all work and you can get to every line, every decision, every process, and that it all comes out at the right time. Just a little bit more additional on flowcharting. There are lots of other shapes as defined in the IBM document and that you'll see used occasionally, but the shapes I showed you are the biggies. There's a document shape, a parallel operation shape, there's an on-page connector, an off-page connector, and ways to annotate processes and give it more information. It's really beyond the scope of this brief introductory video, but you can go look that up in the references or find that online or in the book that goes along with this video. Remember to keep your diagram as concise as possible. Just put what's needed. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't make it crazy. Just put what you need to in the diagram. This is to aid communication, not to make it complex. And remember the old KISS rule. Keep it simple, stupid. That's how many times have people said that to me? Well, I'm saying it to you when you're flowcharting. Keep it simple. These are the works cited. by all means, I suggest you look at those and read those in your time and for additional information. Thank you very much for watching our video here on flowcharting.